Hi, I'm Aaron Marcus, and welcome back to the Acting and Modeling Success Summit. Um, I have a good friend and an incredible, just an incredible guy. His name's Paul Weber, and let me share some information with you about Paul. Paul is one of Hollywood's most respected casting directors. Paul was the executive head of television casting and feature film consultant for MGM Studios. He's now a fully independent casting director and producer, and he's also partners and creates content for the IndieInsider.com. It's a great infotainment website that actually just started. Paul also travels the globe, offering acting and auditioning workshops. So Paul, hey, welcome to the summit.
Hi, Aaron. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Oh, believe me, it's my pleasure. You know, people hear about casting directors, the term casting director, all the time, and quite often I find that people really don't understand very specifically what a casting director does. So what I'd like to ask, if you would just explain, what does a casting director do and how do you actually get work?
How does a casting director get work?
Yeah, like what is that process? You know, who contacts you? What kind of information are you given? How do you disseminate that information? You know, things like that.
Well, a casting director is usually brought on by a director or a studio or a network to begin the process of finding the cast for that television series pilot or feature. And we we are very much in a way like actors. We many times have to meet and audition for the job just like actors do. We thought, as a former actor, I thought once I got away from acting, this would be really easy, getting into casting. But you know, we have to jump through some of the same hoops with our producers and directors. And just like actors, if the producers and directors get to know us, they tend to want to work with us again and again. So there is a bit of a parallel between what we do and what actors do.
Hey, excuse me for 1 second, Paul. Excuse me. I just want to ask. So there could be times where a producer or a director might contact a number of different casting directors and say, "Look, here's the project. What are your ideas? Do you have any thoughts about, you know, people to, you know, be in here? How you plan to audition?" And so basically casting directors are auditioning for the project.
That is absolutely right. If a producer or director does not already have a pre-existing relationship with a casting director and they are open to meeting new casting directors for a project, you will go in and I will go in and take a meeting. And in that meeting, I might suggest ideas for the script. I will talk about the script. I will flatter in as genuine a way as possible the director while maintaining as much dignity as I can, just like actors do when they audition
Well, excuse me, I want to jump in there for one other second because this is fascinating. So let's say I'm a producer and I've sent out scripts, you know, to a number of different casting directors. You know, people always hear, well, you know, you have to take a meeting, you know, here, let's go to a so let's have this meeting. What is going to happen? You walk into my office, you've got the script, and I don't know if you can base this on one where you actually did you know, have to do this audition. So yeah, hey, welcome, Paul. So you know, what kind of ideas do you have for this project?
That it gets to that many times, but I think the most important thing for me when I'm in a meeting is to establish a personal relationship with that producer or director, where I talk about how much I appreciate their work, the films that they've done or the television series they've done, or if it's a first-time director, a short that they've done, how much I like the script, because I tend to take meetings on projects that I'm passionate about. Sometimes I will just take the meeting to get to know the producer or director. So we establish, just like an actor does, a moment or two, or maybe longer, 20 minutes, because sometimes you're in there for a half an hour or so, which is much longer than an actor is, and you establish a relationship. Then it typically goes to the place of, well, let's talk about your thoughts creatively on who you might think might be right for some of these roles, and I'll give them some of the ideas, not all of them, but I'll give them a taste of where my taste lies, so that they can make a determination if A, they like me, if they want to work with me, and B, if they appreciate my taste and judgment and work process, and that I connect with them on a level creatively as well too, so that we can work together.
And when you say creatively, are you talking, I'm not sure, are you talking about which actors that you think would be, best for certain roles, or what exactly does creatively mean?
Yeah, if we're on the same page as far as our ideas and choices, or something fresh that they hadn't known or heard of, or an actor that I had discovered along the way that they may not be aware of, who I think is up and coming, that's what they want to tap into a bit, to see how tapped I am into the the creative zeitgeist of who's coming up and who's already established and what they're coming out with, and how casting a particular actor might benefit not only the film itself, but maybe help in foreign distribution, all the things that producers and directors look for as sort of the end game of their project.
And so I guess, with thinking of some of those actors, that also is a real statement as to where you see the film going, because you know that certain actors will bring a certain type of energy and a certain look and a certain style to that particular character, which could completely change if you brought in somebody else. So that's really got it. So that's what you're referring to. Okay, so let's say in the best case scenario, it's you shake hands, you sign contracts, we want you to be the casting director. What is the next step?
The next step, depending whether it's film or television, but let's say it's a film, okay? And what I do is I break down the roles.
And
After
when
our
you say
creative meeting.
breakdown, that means,
There's actually a service called Breakdown Services where I will send the script, and I will have the writers there dissect the script and create character descriptions and a storyline. And every character will have a description. That's how we break down those roles. And there will also be information as to who the producers are, the director, the writer, casting director, and how to submit your actors. And when I say how to submit your actors, this breakdown will go out to a number of agents, in fact, all agents who subscribe to the service, and most of them do. In fact, I think 100% of agents do subscribe to Breakdown. They have access to the breakdown as well as often the script. And then the agents can read the script and submit accordingly based on the character descriptions their clients that they think would be most suited for those roles.
and managers also will subscribe to breakdowns as well,
That's
right?
right. Agents and managers, right.
And so and I realize, every role is going to be different, but I mean, I've heard, and I have no idea if this is true, maybe you can share this with me. I've been told that there could be some roles that there could be thousands of people submitted for, and then basically the casting director, you would, take a look at the headshots, or, just go by name recognition or resumes, and then decide who's actually you're going to invite to come in for the audition. But could it actually be thousands of submissions?
If I'm going to release a breakdown on a role, especially a smaller role, yes, typically I will get 1,000, 1,500 submissions. So my advice to actors, whether they are submitting on Breakdown through their agents or through Actors Access, which is a division of Breakdown Services where non-union actors or actors without an agent or a manager can submit themselves on a project, my advice would be to get yourself some form of demo reel that we as casting directors can look at in addition to your photo and resume. The photo and resume is one-dimensional, just gives us so much information. with a demo reel, whether it's 30 seconds or a minute, I can see you in 3D. I can see what you look like on camera. I can make a determination, which is subjective, but I can decide whether I think you can act or not, whether you have personality, a sense of humor. And these days, because of exactly what we're doing right now with technology, and this is a perfect example, there's no reason why any actor, whether you're represented or not represented, have an agent or a manager, no matter where you live, there's no reason why an actor can't have some form of a demo reel by creating their own webisode series, by writing their own or appearing in their own short film, student film, independent film, non-union film. There's so much out there right now that there's no excuse for any actor who's serious about their career not to have that little tiny film icon that sits next to their name in a submission. If they don't, the likelihood of me clicking and opening up a resume on an actor is almost zero. So out of 1,000 submissions, if only 300 have the camera icon, those are the photos I will look at, and those are the demo reels I will look at first. And the others, probably not.
And just on a little bit of a side note, you wouldn't recommend someone just recording a monologue, you know, in their bedroom or something and uploading that to replace a you know, any kind of video reel? Would it be better for them actually just to wait until you get a video reel, or could somebody just do a straight-on monologue and put that up there? And would that be helpful at all?
That's a good question. I would prefer they do not do that. There are services now out there that you don't even have to do a service. You can just make sure that it's well lit, that the sound is good, and even just make an introduction. Say, you know, give me your name, tell me just a short anecdote about yourself, anything to create a sense of personal connection where I can see what you look like, see if you've got, maybe not if you have talent as an actor, but if you have personality. Especially for younger actors who may not have an opportunity to build a demo reel yet, we like to see potential in young actors, and I'm talking 10, 12, 13-year-old kids who are starting in the business, just so that we can see a sense of what their personality is. The older you get, the more opportunities you should have to create a demo reel, to find a student film where you can take even 30 seconds of what you've done, 20 seconds, something where you can just show us something that looks professional. And these days, the equipment that student filmmakers are using is the same equipment that a lot of the professional filmmakers are using. So take advantage of that as much as you can. It's probably the most empowering time for actors in history because they have access to technology and to upload their projects online. So that's what I would really encourage actors to do as much as possible, is to, as early as they can, start creating content or getting access to content so that we can see really what you look like in 3D rather than just a one-dimensional photograph, which is a great start and you're going to need, but you need more these days.
Okay, so the submissions have come in. You're going to be weeding through all these things. And once again, I realize it varies so much from role to role, project to project. Let's say for a day player, somebody who's going to be working, one day on a project, how many people would they need a doctor, for one particular scene in this project. How many people would you actually even call in to read?
If it's for a film, I typically have a little more time. So I don't want to waste the time of my director, and I don't want to keep them in my room all day because I know they're busy and they have lots of other things on their plate to handle. So I will pre-read, which means I will look at, without the director, I will maybe bring in 20, 25 actors, all sorts of shapes, sizes, age, men, women, for a nurse or a doctor, nationalities, African American, every color of the rainbow I will explore. And then out of that, when my producer comes for a session, I will usually bring in 6 to 8 actors for a callback for those sorts of roles. And I need to feel confident that every actor I bring in is capable of doing that job. And then it's really up to the director to decide, or the producer to decide which actor gets the part. I just help them narrow the field. They ask my advice sometimes. The more that I have a positive and an ongoing relationship with the director or producer, the more often they ask my advice. Sometimes they just appreciate that I bring them the best of the crop, and then they go ahead and make the decision without too much chit chat or
And
fuss.
do you even make a list of, hey, this is my first, second, and third choice, and hand that over to them, or do you not even bother with that and
I
just
don't
bring in
really
those
do
six
that
people?
because I don't want to assume that I know what they're looking for. I'm constantly surprised by what directors and producers decide they think would be the right actor. I can only anticipate so much, and at that point, I sort of sit in the backseat and I'm there for the actor, and I try to make them feel as good in the room as possible and as safe and secure. And then I let them do their thing, and I let the producer and director decide who they think would be best. And sometimes they'll look at me and say, you know what, these are good actors, but I think we need to see a few more people, or we're changing the role a little bit. So let's look at a new crop of actors. And those are the things that I think actors need to know because there's so much frustration with what the callback means and why didn't I get a callback. And in many instances, it's not because that actor didn't do a really good audition. It's just because the role may have been changed, the role may have been cut, the role might have changed genders. They might want to go African American instead of Asian, or Caucasian instead of Hispanic. Any number of reasons can influence why an actor may not get a call back. So that level of rejection that actors feel needs to be purely professional, not personal.
Yeah,
Especially if you felt like you did a really good job in that audition. If you sucked in the audition, you will probably know it, and there's your reason for not getting a call back. And then you can work to fix why it sucked. But if it was truly a solid professional audition and you didn't get a call back or you didn't get the job, it's likely because you just weren't right for that part. And your callback will be when that casting director 2 months later invites you back for a different project. Consider that your callback from the previous audition.
that's a great point. And even just the fact that you got the phone call to audition is saying a lot to the actor that at least your headshot is in the right is in the right ballpark. It grabs somebody's attention, and like you were saying, even if you don't get a call back, but if you get a chance to audition for that casting director at some point in the future, even if you didn't book the job, what that is saying is they like what you did. And that's why they're calling you again, because if you really disliked somebody's audition, they just weren't professional, they really didn't read it well, you're probably not going to call them back very quickly, if,
Absolutely.
if at all.
That's right. That's right, Aaron. And you make a good point too. That just getting that initial phone call is is a reason to celebrate because I can't tell you, and again, I can't tell you how many times actors sabotage themselves. They walk into the room and they look around, and they see people that don't look like them, or they go in the room and see people who look exactly like them, and they think, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm maybe not right for this, or everyone's better looking than I am, or they immediately begin to sabotage their auditions based on what they see around them instead of realizing just one thing: I've been invited to this party, and I'm going to bring my A game to it. And there's a reason why I was called in. I might be right for this. I'm going to show them that I am the guy or the girl for this part. And if not, I'm at least going to give them a really good audition. So you come in with that sense of empowerment rather than the sense of I'm not good enough, or playing a victim, which I think actors do far too often. And
Well, the other thing that I hear, sitting in casting directors' offices, and you're looking around, you're seeing all different types, different ages, different looks, different height, and you're thinking, these people don't have a clue. They have no idea what they're looking. This is a waste of my time. They're just throwing everything in here, and they're hoping something sticks. And I guess that is one way to view it. But like you said, I just think, man, I'm glad they invited me to the party. Now, you were also saying that was for film, and for TV, certainly things move much, much, much faster. So would those numbers change dramatically as far as how many people would be coming in to read initially?
Yes, yes, very often, especially in a pilot or a television series that needs to be where you just get a script, let's say, for an episodic, and you're going to be shooting in 4 days, and you've got 20 roles to cast, and you can only see, I mean, you've been in on those auditions before if you're lucky, and it's tough because we will tend to bring in actors that we know or tape that we've seen on actors, or we will not take a chance on an actor we have not met. uh, that's why the importance of a demo reel is vital, because otherwise we won't typically have that much time to pre-read. And if there's a role and I can only bring in 8 actors, sometimes I don't even pre-read. I will bring in the actors that I know, that I've worked with before, that I've seen in a showcase, I've seen their demo reel. Very rarely will I get an inordinate amount of time to pre-read actors. We just don't have the time. And it makes it challenging and frustrating for actors because they want to get in the room. They want to be able to meet a casting director. And that's why the importance of a reel and the importance of some sort of online content where in our quiet time, which is maybe 10 minutes between 3 a.m. and 3:10 a.m., we can actually look at tape and maybe take a chance on someone or a fresh talent or new talent that we weren't aware of, because that's part of our job too, is to discover new talent, not just bring in the same people or the people that we felt comfortable working with in the past.
Sure. Hey, Paul, listen, I wish we had 10 hours here. I do want to get to some questions that have been flying in. So let me jump to, um, oh, okay. So this is from Marjorie in Australia, and she wants to know, do you find acting styles used by actors working in the US are different than styles of actors or styles used by actors in the UK or Australia?
Wow, that's a great question, and I have had the opportunity to teach auditioning workshops in both countries, and I think the only difference is, I think in England and in Australia, there are some wonderful theater schools there. There are great training facilities there for actors that are stage-based, and that foundation is incredibly strong for many actors in those countries. They emphasize vocal facility. They emphasize a physicality that you learn on stage. You learn in the best schools to integrate all of those tools to create a well-rounded, well-trained actor. Where in this country, there tends to be a bit more of an emphasis on film and television preparation, which is technique. And sometimes I find that the actors who just train for film and television don't do enough physical work and vocal work to deepen their range. Not in all cases, it's a huge generality that I'm making here. But I find that the work ethic many times in the countries of England and the Commonwealth countries of Australia, they tend to be really good because those actors tend to come from the stage, come from a foundation of work. Yes, they want to do film and television, but they come from a different mindset and a different mentality. And they're not used to making a lot of money, especially in those countries, and especially doing a lot of stage work. And there's not quite the hype that there is in film and television and in this country. So I find if they do the work, they tend to be quite well-rounded performers. And that's why I think there's a tendency to hire actors from England and Australia for certain shows. And you see it on television, in American television, all over the place. The new up-and-coming Australian or English actors or South African actors or someone from Canada. There tends to be an excitement about some of those actors because they do come from a slightly different mindset, many of them, and a different foundation.
Great. Got a question. This is from Brent in New Mexico. If an actor makes a mistake during the read at an audition, should he just ask to start over or keep going?
That is also a really good question. It depends when they make the mistake. If you make the mistake early, within the first 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds of an audition, just ask to start over again. Just, it's guys, I just got out of the block. the runner's block, I just stumbled here. Can I just try this again? Because we will usually sense the same thing when an actor stumbles when they start their audition. So we appreciate that they understand it rather than try to push through or confuse us as to maybe that was their choice to do it that way. Just stop and start again. If you're halfway, three-quarters through, then you're just taking up our time. Then I would just push through or pick up from where you left off, just saying, can I do a pick up from where I left off, or can I start again? Let the casting director tell you whether they let you start over again or just do a pickup. If they like your work, they may have you start over again. If they like it well enough, depending on how much time you have, pick up from where you left off, be professional about it, just like you would on the set, where you would do a pickup on a scene if there was a flub up somewhere along the line.
Okay, great. This is from Jonathan in Montana. He wants to know if you have any suggestions for those of us who get nervous prior to the audition.
Also a really good question. Nerves and anxiety are it comes with the territory. We all get nervous. When I step into a meeting with a producer director, I'm nervous. We all want the job, but your job is to audition well. The closest you may ever get to that craft service table on the set will be the audition. So you might as well enjoy the process of auditioning, because that's your opportunity to show new people your talent. And these are people, a small audience. It's not 300 people in a theater. It's 2 or 3 people maybe in a room. It's your chance to show them what you got. So, I jumped out of an airplane years ago, with a parachute. And that's maybe a great analogy. Is the first time I did it, I was scared out of my pants. Let's just say that. And I was hanging on that wing, and before I let go of that strut, I was terrified. Like, what the heck am I doing out on this wing? And then the moment I let go, I literally let go. And that anxiety and that fear became exhilaration, and it became it became joy. It turned into a different experience, and that's what auditioning should be as well too. Turn that anxiety and fear into passion and exhilaration and joy. And once you get started in the audition, you'll find that will propel you, and your nervousness will translate into something just that's more fun. And if you're having fun in the room and you get to that feeling as often as possible, that's why you're auditioning. That's why you're an actor. That's what makes you a performer, is having that thrill and having that rush and having that feeling.
Well, and I mean, I think those are great ideas. I mean, one of the things that I tell people is forget about booking the job. I mean, to me, that's the last thing on my mind. My focus is enjoying the process, enjoying getting an opportunity to audition, enjoy acting, even if it's only for 30 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever it is. And I'm not to say that I don't get nervous. Of course I do, especially for certain kinds of projects. But that takes some of that tension away. And just like you were saying, the more happy that you are, the more joy that you are feeling, it just spreads throughout the room. And the casting director, they're on your side. They want you to do well. It's more enjoyable for them to be hanging around with somebody at an audition who's really having a fun time, as opposed to somebody who's scared to death. So anyhow, I hate to do this because I would love to keep going here. Paul, I want to thank you so much.
Let's just stay and do this. I'll put on a pot of coffee. My legs have fallen asleep because I'm sitting cross-legged on my carpet. So give me a second to stretch. I'll be back.
Hey, well, Paul, I do want to ask, for people who want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
I have a website, and it is paulwebercasting.com.
And that's W-E-B-E-R.
That's 1B, that's right. paulwebercasting.com, 1B. You can go to that. There's a For Actors tab. You can click onto that. It gives you a dedicated email address to contact me. I will get to you as soon as I can. It is a different email address than my regular business address. It's just for actors. But if you're interested in finding out where I'm teaching in the country or in the world, or what's happening in Los Angeles with me. And if you have specific questions, I will try to get to them in as timely a manner as I can. You can follow me on Paul Weber CD, as in casting director, Paul Weber CD on my Twitter account, and keep in touch with me that way. You can
Okay, great.
also look me up on Facebook as well too, and that's Paul Weber Casting or Paul Weber Intensive Workshops.
Well, and just for people who haven't met you, Paul really is one of the truly nicest guys in the industry. His classes are really incredible. If you ever get an opportunity, because he does travel around a lot, if you ever get an opportunity to study with Paul, jump at the chance. Really, he's great. Paul, I want to thank you so much, and hope we get a chance to talk again real soon.
Thanks, Aaron, and I appreciate you doing this. I think it's a great service for actors, and I know you put together quite a summit here with a lot of great information and advice, and I want to congratulate you on accomplishing that, and that you do really good work, and you're one of the great guys and one of the nice
Oh,
guys out in the business too, and you have a lot to share, and I hope actors take advantage of that too.
well, thank you so much. We're going to take just a couple of minutes break, then we'll be coming back. And once again, for anybody who has questions that we simply couldn't get to right here, just send them in. I will stick around at the end of the summit today, and I will get through as many questions as I possibly can. So see you in a couple of minutes, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.